Welcome to this short vodcast by way of preparation to our next session. And I wanted to give this as a chance to catch up with what's been happening in the unit and hopefully get you in front of assessment 1. And we're going to have more time to talk about this on July the 14th when we get together with that rescheduled session. So today there's a 10-point checklist, and what I'd like you to do is, as you're reading the PowerPoint slides and listening to me, stop the video and go and do some of these things. So this might take you an hour or two, it might even be over a couple of days that you decide to do this. So today we're going to go through a 10-point checklist and also giving attention to this idea of leadership decision making, which is the focus of the unit. And thinking about your decision making, the focus of assignment 1, the other people in the unit, remembering your learning groups, the executive advisors, and the patterns and themes and relationships that flow between them, which is the art of reflective practice. So really getting back to this idea as you're going, reflecting about what you're curious about, what you're noticing, what you're not noticing, and what that might mean. Plus I'm going to give you one example from the literature from Kahneman, the guy that's talked about thinking fast and slow, a very famous book, and also an HBR article. So let's look at these reflective practice elements. First thing, basic stuff. Go back to the week 1 document and have a look at the CRAs and particularly assessment 1. What are we asking you for? When you've done that, go through the learning guide, because that gives you lots of ideas about the different elements and what we're going to do through the unit. The third thing is identify 2 articles. So go into the CMD where there's lots and lots of resources, more than you can probably handle, and grab a couple of our articles or chapters which contain models that you think in your situation, in your context, on the basis of discussions you've had so far, what's critical to you. You may have to just look at the abstracts. Don't read the whole thing, just get a flavour of a few of them, pick a few up, spend a little bit of time. And again, before you go through the rest of the checklist, perhaps you could stop the video and do a little bit of that. The fourth thing is ensure you've had at least 3 meetings with your executive advisor. Right now, pick up the phone, send an email, do whatever you need to do to get that moving. Also, ensure, this may be a bit of a surprise to you, but you'll see in Appendix E of the Learning Guide that there's an interim report required that your EA is going to give to you that'll be some of the basis for your understanding of how you've been interacting with them, and might give you some ideas about your leadership direction. So do that too. The sixth thing is ensure that you've engaged with your learning team and shared experiences with them. And this is critical because clearly it's in the actual assessment requirement. Review materials from Understanding Leadership that you did with Dr. Browning, and that, again, I think that in there you should have had your leadership philosophy. So go back to that, find the folder, look at some of the materials, think again, what in there was of relevance to this. Review also your personal development plan from 554, which will have some aspects around leadership in it. Think also about your coaching, which was associated with that unit. Check in with me if you've got any issues about those first 8 steps. And then make some notes on the connections between all of the above so you can scope assessment 1. And remember, in your action learning groups, this is about interactivity and discussion, and in complex systems, which is really what these learning groups are systems of interactions between executive advisors and you need to interact to get the learning. So you've got to give evidence in your assignments of how you use the action learning groups to further your learning. So share your ideas, share your insights. There are many perspectives and theories, and we've asked you to grab a couple. Here's one that you might use. This will be on the learning site soon. If it's not, then just go into the search engine of the library and you'll be able to find this article easily from the Harvard Business Review. So right now, download this article and read it. So get in front of it. With any article, the first thing to find out is what's the basic idea, what's the big idea that this article is going to contribute to you in your understanding of leadership and decision making. In this one, what they're basically saying is that we understand are a lot around cognitive biases, and I mentioned a few. Self-interest, groupthink, confirmation bias, when we only listen to people who agree with us. I'm sure you're familiar with that. Anchoring, where we only give attention to one big bit of evidence and forget the rest. Loss aversion, where we won't take risks. Saliency, meaning that we only give attention to something we've done really well, one particular story or understanding of the situation. And the halo effect, where we think we've had a wonderful success in one area, therefore we're going to have another success here, where in fact that might not be true. So knowing this stuff doesn't help. What Kahneman's big idea is that there's two systems of thinking, and we've got to engage both. There's the first system, which is our intuitive thinking of in the moment, or our feelings, our associations, our impressions, representations of the world, our immediate reactions and stories. He says we've got to challenge those, and that's what system 2 is, our reflective processes, our memory and reflection for slow and deliberate approaches for rule-based reasoning. However, we've got a problem because it's difficult for us to fix the errors that we can't see. In other words, it's very hard for us to apply our system 2 thinking to our own system 1 thinking because we're in the moment. So we're in system 1 trying to use system 2, so it kind of doesn't make sense. Collective life gives us the opportunity to use system 2 thinking to interrogate the system 1 thinking, and along with all the flaws that come from the people that are advising us as leaders as to how to make decisions, because we don't obviously make them all ourselves. The article provides 3 sets of questions, 12 in total as a critical checklist. Go to those now. The first set is those that decision makers should ask themselves. Just have a look at these 3 questions. I won't read them for you. But these refer to the kinds of biases that we want to have a look at here. Self-motivation, falling in love with them, dissenting opinions. The next set of questions is the questions that the decision makers have got to ask the teams that are presenting those recommendations to them. These are the ones you ask someone else. Have a look at those 6. And as you read them, think about some of the discussions you've had with your executive advisors and with your other people in the group, as well as your own experiences. You can see a few of these are quite familiar, linking into particular mistakes that we might make in our thinking patterns. And the final set is to be the questions focusing on the evaluating the actual proposal at the end. And this is the last set of questions, pretty important ones if you look at them. So really now the task, having got that checklist, is there are some principles. He's not suggesting that really minor decisions or routine decisions that you use this, but critical decisions. And make sure that the people who review the process are separate from the decision maker. And use all the questions, not just a selected one, because that in itself could be part of your cognitive bias. And the processes are not just about individuals making decisions, but about collective decision making and good decision making processes. So there's a model, but really, please read the article. And then ask yourself these questions about the article and your use of it. Does it make good sense to you? If it doesn't, it might not be a good one to use. What did you notice in the article? What are you curious about? How might the ideas be relevant to you? Have you heard anything from the executive advisors that are intuitively using this kind of process? What about your peers? What are the patterns you can spot? And other models that add to your understanding of this one? Or in fact highlight weaknesses. What are the problems with the model that you can see? And if you want more about this, Daniel Kahneman's done a very, very popular and very significant book about the whole issue. And then is this an approach that you might take to your executive advisor and say, I'd like to talk about a particular approach and see if you use it? And if you did, how would you introduce it to them? And what do you think they might react? How do you think they might react to this? And what might that tell you about their leadership style and their decision making? Because that's a decision in itself. And finally, what key learning does this exercise give you that you might take forward into your assignment and into your leadership? So that hopefully gives you a good intro into the first assignment, and we'll talk more about that on the 14th of July, because you'll then have another week and a bit after that. to tidy that one up. But also for the 14th of July, I want you to think of a story about leadership and decision making that captures the essence of your own leadership approach, either as it is now with some flaws, or maybe how you'd like it to be, something that gives us a sense of what it's like. And be prepared to share it with others in the group for 2 minutes. So that's basically the process, and I look forward to meeting you again on the 14th of July. And in the meantime, please, if you get stuck, give me a call.